think something we're going to have to pay attention to for the Baltimore Ravens is whether they are able to come together on that line and build chemistry to help Derrick Henry, to help Lamar Jackson. Because I know Lamar can scramble and I know he can do it, but he does not want to do that every play.
Mm-mm.
And the reason I bring this up without going super in depth into it is I think that is what is causing our tight end confusion here. So we have this newish offensive line, or new to each other offensive line. Mark Andrews, a lot of people I saw on X were saying, why isn't Mark Andrews on the field? Why isn't he getting snaps? What happened? Isaiah Likely's getting all the snaps. Well, I looked it up. Actually, Mark Andrews had more snaps than Isaiah Likely. But Mark Andrews was lining up in line. He had 13 blocking snaps. I think 3 of them were run blocks, and then the other 10 were pass blocks. He had 53 total snaps, I want to say, here. And he only had 2 targets on 2 receptions. So, of course, all the fantasy football fans are like, hey, what the heck is this? I drafted this guy like 3rd round for some reason to be my tight end. So he had 13 inline snaps, 38 slot snaps, 8 out wide, and that was for a total of 59 snaps on the Baltimore Ravens offense. He didn't go out for passes a lot for some reason. Or if he did, Lamar just didn't throw him the ball. Again, he was only targeted twice on 59 snaps. And 46 of those were ones where he could have ran routes. He wasn't a dedicated blocker. Isaiah Likely, on the other hand, had close to the same amount of snaps as Mark Andrews. He did have less over time. However, he lined up out wide more. He lined out in the slot. And he had 12 targets. Isaiah Likely was targeted 12 times, had 9 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown. So now the question people are asking is, do I need to drop Mark Andrews in fantasy because Isaiah Likely is the new tight end in Baltimore? And I think there's a lot of people overreacting personally. Because if you haven't followed the Baltimore Ravens in any capacity, you're probably like, who the heck is Isaiah Likely? He's not a big name, but he's been around for a while with the Baltimore Ravens. And Ravens fans really like him because he's been someone who, if Mark Andrews gets hurt, which he has been the past 2 seasons for long periods of time, Isaiah Likely can come in and be a trustworthy safety blanket for Lamar Jackson like Mark Andrews was. It just so happened in week 1, for whatever reason, they ran a ton of 12 personnel sets with 2 tight ends. And I don't know why. I don't know if Mark Andrews isn't quite ready to. I know he said he's 100%, but maybe he isn't ready to run those full go routes and all the stuff you expect from Mark Andrews. Maybe he is just better off running conservative, just emergency valve routes or blocking, just staying close to the line of scrimmage, while Isaiah Likely becomes that guy. The other alternative is maybe John Harbaugh's like, we don't want the defenses to know who we're going to be targeting that week. Or Lamar is just kind of going with whoever has the hot hands this week. So if you're looking at this from a fantasy football perspective, I probably, and again, this is week 1, so like our sample size is very small. We're working off 59 snaps here, not even 100 snaps. We're working off 59 total. But I don't know that you're going to want either one of them in fantasy long term, because one week Isaiah Likely is going to have the 20-point game and another week it's going to be Mark Andrews. Or they both might just be all over the place and you're not going to know who to start when. You may be better off just having your consistent 8-point tight end who you know you can start them. They'll get you your 8 points, and their ceiling may not be as high as Isaiah Likely or Mark Andrews, but they'll get you the points. You know what to expect from them. So I'm not mad at this from a pure football perspective. I understand why it's frustrating from a fantasy football perspective, but I think it's very smart from a actual football perspective, and that's why I want the Bengals to kind of emulate this same thing, the 12 personnel sets. I mean, the Bengals have 5 tight ends rostered. They can do this. Granted, one of them's Tanner Hudson, and he fumbled on the goal line, and I think he's a little bit overhyped by some fans. But the point is, when you have your Zay Flowers, then you've got Mark Andrews, then you have now defenses have to plan for Isaiah Likely, but they also have to plan for Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers, which Zay Flowers was wide open on the final play of the game, or the last play of the game.
Yeah.
And Lamar overthrew him and cost me my parlay and my fantasy football league. But moving on from that, I think this causes the defense to have to scheme more, and it will open up Mark Andrews in the future and will allow the Ravens offense to be more dynamic, more versatile.
No, I don't disagree with that. I will say I wouldn't panic when it comes to fantasy football. I mean, as you kind of alluded to, I mean, it definitely kind of would kind of make sense to watch on Mark Andrews and Likely, because obviously, like you said, it could be a flip-flop any single week. But also, I also wouldn't panic because, as you mentioned, it's only week 1 and a lot can happen. I mean, the thing is week 1, you kind of have to take fantasy football with a grain of salt. So anybody that's panicking about that needs to settle down, because any player, I'm in a 15-team league and I put up 168 points this week. Is that going to happen next week? Absolutely not. But the point being is, team did really well this week, but I don't think that every single one of my players, except minus Hunter Henry, is going to get a touchdown or more every single week. I mean, Jaden Reed had 33 points and he had 2 total touchdowns, and he had a 73-yard rushing touchdown. Like I said, I didn't really watch the game on Friday. I was traveling to Cincinnati, ironically enough. But in that game, I mean, do you think Jaden Reed's going to pop off with Malik Willis? You don't know. I mean, you have to take 1 week at a time. So for anyone panicking about Mark Andrews, just wait it out, see what happens, but don't be too nervous to pick up another tight end in the event that Mark Andrews falls off a little bit. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I just wanted to check this real quick. Isaiah Likely had very similar alignment numbers to Mark Andrews. Like I said, he had 6 less snaps. He actually lined up in line more often than Mark Andrews did. He had 8 special team snaps, so that goes into that. He lined up as an offensive lineman, or is this season? This might not be this season now that I'm looking at it, because I think PFF messed up. But
don't listen to Josh, guys. Don't listen
to those numbers. Those numbers were all wrong. These numbers are right. Okay. They're still very similar though. He lined up in line 27 times, which is again more than Mark Andrews did. He lined up out wide 4 times, which I think was pretty similar to what I said Mark Andrews did. I think I said Mark Andrews was out there 8 times. So, yeah, it's 4, 8. So, Mark Andrews was out there twice as much. And then from the slot, it was 38 times for Mark Andrews and only 21 times for Isaiah Likely. So, this really just came down to who Lamar was targeting, it seems like. And that's without looking and doing a deep dive into it on the film, but looking at the layout and what their plans were, it seems that Isaiah Likely just had the hot hand in week 1, and that could switch like that next week. So don't freak out yet if you're a Mark Andrews owner in fantasy. Ravens fans, I think, should be excited because this is, like I said 5 minutes ago, this is scary and helps build that offense.